Nigerian soldiers killed or wounded 2,200 Igbo civilians. In July 1969, Biafran soldiers were trained at the war front. Biafran soldiers were only trained to aim and shoot to kill. 3 months after I arrived at Oguta war front, Colonel Olusegun Obasanjo recaptured the city of Oguta and did so on October 9, 1969. I was a Biafran child soldier that was transferred from the Oguta war front to serve as a cook in the officers' headquarters at the bank of the River Niger at Ndone, Biafra. I served in the Biafran army for the 6 months that preceded the end of the Nigerian Civil War that ended on the 15th of January of 1970. My journey to the frontier of the supercomputer was a journey from the war front of Biafra to the science front of the United States. My technological journey to the frontier of the massively parallel processing supercomputer began on June 20, 1974, and began on a sequential processing supercomputer that was in Corvallis, Oregon, United States. However, that technological journey was bifurcated by racism.
Put down your comment.
And discordant voices drowned the voice of the lone wolf research supercomputer scientist that was alone at the frontier of a new internet that is a new supercomputer. Who is Philip Emeagwali? The following story is a 60-minute excerpt from my 60-year story. At age 34 and at 10:15 a.m. New York time, Tuesday the 4th of July of 1989, the U.S. Independence Day, I saw something no human had ever seen before. I saw an ensemble of the slowest processors in the world outperform the fastest supercomputer in the world. I got goosebumps and my hairs stood straight while I watched that discovery. Seeing for the first time the slowest processors compute together to compute faster than the fastest supercomputer was the most amazing experience in my life. I was witnessing the birth of a new era in the history of the computer. I was witnessing a paradigm shift in the supercomputer world. I was witnessing a change of tectonic proportion that will be a change in the way we think about the computer. I was witnessing the birth of a new computer that is powered by an ensemble of 100 commodity processors rather than computing with only one processor. I was witnessing the birth of a new supercomputer that is powered by a global network of 65,536 commodity off-the-shelf processors rather than supercomputing with only one customized vector processor. I was witnessing the birth of a new internet of tomorrow that could be powered by a global network of 1 trillion processors that emulates one seamless, cohesive supercomputer. I was gazing across the centuries. For me, Philip Emeagwali, the massively parallel processing supercomputer, was my supercomputing equivalence of a moonshot project. As a matter of fact, the fastest supercomputer cost as much as the spacecraft that took men to the moon. In supercomputing, the Holy Grail was to compute 1 billion times faster and to compute with as many commodity processors that compute together to solve extreme scale problems in computational physics. I began my quest for the fastest supercomputer on Thursday, June 20, 1974, at age 19, at 1800 Southwest Campus Way, Corvallis, Oregon, United States. 15 years later, I knew a thing or two about how and why parallel processing makes the computer faster and makes the supercomputer fastest. Today, my research interest has shifted to passing on my massively parallel processing supercomputer discoveries and inventions, and to passing them on to the next generation of quantum computer scientists. Back in 1974, no supercomputer scientist had any sense of how the massively parallel processing supercomputer could be used to solve the toughest problems in computational physics. And no supercomputer scientist understood what lies within the hood of a theorized massively parallel processing supercomputer of 1974. But today, the massively parallel processing supercomputer that was science fiction in 1974 is a reality that gave the petroleum industry the ability to extract more oil and gas from the Niger Delta oil fields of my country of birth, Nigeria. It should not come as a surprise that the petroleum industry purchases 1 in 10 massively parallel processing supercomputers. Please allow me to introduce myself. I invented a new internet that is a global network of 65,536 commodity off-the-shelf processors that are identical to each other and that are equal distances afar and apart from each other. And I invented how to use that new internet to make computers faster and make supercomputers fastest. Please allow me to take a retrospective look on my early supercomputing years, namely the 16 years onward of June 20, 1974, at Corvallis, Oregon, United States. In those 16 years, I conducted supercomputer research on how to harness the total supercomputing power of 16 massively parallel processing machines that were each powered by an ensemble of up to 2 to power 16 commodity off-the-shelf processors that were married together as one cohesive supercomputer hopeful and married together by 16 times 2 to the power 16 commodity email wires. In the 1970s, I visualized each massively parallel processing supercomputer that I theorized not as a new computer per se, but as a new internet de facto. This series of lectures is on how and why parallel processing is the necessary technology for manufacturing the fastest supercomputers. In my lecture series, I will explain why my world's fastest computation that I recorded on the 4th of July of 1989 and that I recorded across the slowest processors made the news headlines in 1989 and was recorded in the June 20, 1990 issue of the Wall Street Journal. That experimental discovery of massively parallel processing is often remembered as my contribution to the development of the fastest computers and supercomputers. I experimentally discovered that a parallel processing supercomputer that is defined and outlined by an ensemble of the slowest processors can be harnessed to compute faster than the fastest sequential processing supercomputer and to compute faster than the fastest vector processing supercomputer. That experimental discovery is my contribution to the deeper understanding of the new internet that is a global network of processors and that is the fastest supercomputer of today. Ever since the supercomputer that computed automatically and computed with only one CPU was invented in 1946, the first real hope for supercomputing across a billion processors did not emerge until I, Philip Emeagwali, experimentally discovered how and why we can communicate and compute across a new internet. That new internet is a global network of 65,536 commodity off-the-shelf processors, or a global network of as many identical computers. That supercomputer experimental discovery that I made on the 4th of July of 1989 made the news headlines in 1989. To make my invention of a new supercomputer, I used the most complicated mathematics from the world of physics, calculus, and computers. And I used that abstract mathematics to work out how to parallel process across a new internet that is a global network of 65,536 commodity processors. And I used that advanced mathematical knowledge to work out which data from my extreme scale computational physics codes to email and which data not to email. The new partial differential equations of modern mathematics that I invented and used was the cover story of the June 1990 issue of the Siam News. The Siam News is the flagship publication of the research mathematics community. The Siam News is published by the Society for Industrial and Applied Mathematics. The new mathematical knowledge in the Siam News
If you find it video
is written by research mathematicians
put down your comment
and written
and
only
share to your
for
friends.
research
Put that in the
mathematicians. On the 4th of July of 1989, I experimentally confirmed that I could use a new internet that's outlined by 64 binary thousand processors and use that new internet to solve the toughest problems in extreme scale computational physics and solve those problems by dividing each into 64 binary thousand problems and solve them 64 binary thousand times faster than one processor solving those sets of problems, those sets of 64 binary thousand problems alone. Since the first supercomputer of 1946, the technological need to solve the toughest problems in extreme scale computational physics is the primary source of inspiration for inventing the fastest supercomputers. In 1989, 9 in 10 supercomputer cycles were consumed by extreme scale computational physicists who constructed computation-intensive global circulation models or constructed highest resolution petroleum reservoir simulators or coded the toughest problems in computational fluid dynamics. My experimental discovery of the massively parallel processing supercomputer that occurred on the 4th of July of 1989, that occurred across a new internet that is a global network of 64 binary thousand processors, opened the door to the state-of-the-art new supercomputers that now compute 10 binary million times faster. That new supercomputer, in turn, creates a new computer science. Before my discovery, or in the 1980s or earlier, the 1,000 fastest supercomputers in the world computed with only one processor. After my discovery, or after the 4th of July of 1989, the 1,000 fastest supercomputers in the world parallel processed and computed with thousands or millions of commodity off-the-shelf processors. The economic importance of my experimental discovery of the modern supercomputer can be concluded from the fact that the fastest supercomputer cost the budget of a small nation. The story of how I got to do such an expensive supercomputer experiment and do it alone is the subject of another lecture. The massively parallel processing supercomputer is the most important tool at the frontiers of knowledge of computational mathematics, computational physics, and computational medicine. The sequential processing supercomputer and the vector processing supercomputer opened the fields of computational mathematics, computational physics, and computational medicine. And the massively parallel processing supercomputer continues to push the boundaries of human knowledge and push it across extreme scale science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. Parallel processing is at the root of the modern computer. Parallel processing changed and redefined the supercomputer from being powered by only one isolated processor to being powered by an